Hey folks, so this is the second video in the drum fill exercise series. Again, this focuses largely on just rhythmic organization and just recognizing different pairings of rhythmic figures and really navigating around the buckets as opposed to advanced stick technique or anything like that, or offhand accents, crazier things. So have fun, make sure you count out loud. If you need to slow anything down, make sure to go to the video's playback settings and slow it down to 0.5 or 0.75 speed before bringing it up to full speed. So for these exercises, we're going to be using this classic Ludwig kit found in Superior Drummer 3 for the sounds. We're really only concerned with the snare, tom 1, tom 2, tom 3 or the floor tom, the kick drum, and the crash. In this first example, we're going to hit the snare twice, then tom 1 twice, tom 2 twice, tom 3 twice, and then we're going back to the snare for 4 hits before ending on our crash and kick together on beat 1 of the next measure. Now, the rhythmic organization of this one is a little bit tricky. Note, this very first note has 2 beams, but one of them is broken, meaning only this first note is a 16th note. The one following it is only connected to the other 2 notes by this 1 beam. It's actually an 8th note, so we have a 16th followed by an 8th, and you can see this last note, same deal as the first, we have the 1 broken beam. So 16th, 8th, and another 16th. This is going to be counted 1, E, and A. So that 8th note lasts for all of E and. In beat 2, we have an 8th note followed by 2 16ths. So this is 2 E and A. Let's put those together. We have 1 E and A, 2 E and A. Beat 3 starts with the 16th rest. So we don't play anything right on 3. We play on the E of 3. We have this floor tom on E and then we rest again on A. So 3, E, and A. Last, this 4th group is pretty easy. We just have 4, E, and A all on the snare before bringing it to our crash and kick to end the fill. Let's walk through this one. 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A, 1. In the second example, we start with a rest, a quarter rest. So all of beat 1, and then we have this 8th rest for 2 before hitting our kick drum on the and of 2. So 1 and, 2 and. Next we have a triplet for beat 3, all on the snare. We have triplet, and in beat 4 we have another triplet, but it starts kick, snare, snare. Triplet, triplet. If we were to count this together, 1 and, 2 and, triplet, triplet, 1. Let's dive into it. 1 and, 2 and, triplet, triplet, 1. I know what you're thinking. This guy really likes triplets, and you're not wrong. Let's get into this next example. We're going to start with a triplet on the snare. So triplet, and then snare, kick, kick for the next triplet. Then back to the snare for triplet, and then beat 4, just like beat 2, snare, kick, kick. Triplet, 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 1. Let's give it a shot. Triplet, 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 1. So in this next example, we have this marcato on beat 1, meaning we want to hit the snare with both hands, and that's going to last for all of 1 E and A. Then on the snare, 2 E, and then tom 1 and A. Beat 3, back to the snare, 3 E and A. That was snare, tom 1, tom 2, tom 3. Last, we change things up with a triplet for beat 4. We have all snare, triplet, and then again our crashing based on beat 1. So 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, triplet, triplet 1. Let's give it a shot. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a triplet 1. On to this next example, you'll notice a few marcatos right here on the very first hit, and as well here in beat 4 we have 4 E and, so marcatos on 4 and a 4, and then also these accented kicks on the ands of 1 and 4, as well as the of 4. So just remember, for marcatos, both 6 on the snare, accents, just a little bit more emphasis on that kick drum. So we have 2 eighth notes, so 1 and, beat 2, we start on the snare, 2 E, move down to the floor tom for and, then back up to tom 2 for 3 E, back down to that floor tom 4, and finally, snare, kick, marcatos for both of those snares, and that's 4 E and Last, end with that crash and bass on beat 1 of the next measure. Let's give it a shot. 1 and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1. So this next example is probably the worst received by all of my students. Everybody hates this one, probably because we have to start with our off hand. And we're going to start left hand on the snare before moving right hand to tom 2, left hand tom 1, and right hand on the floor tom. So we have 1 E and Beat 2 is the same thing. It's going to be left, right, and then we have snare, snare, tom 1, tom 2, snare, kick, tom 1, tom 2. It is best to play through this one all left, right, and so on. Counting all 16th notes so you don't have to worry about pausing and switching hands. It's all going to be alternating, just starting with your left hand first. Let's give it a shot. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1. Did I hear somebody just ask for more triplets? Here you go. Our next example is all triplets again. This one's fun. I like this a lot. We have tom 1, tom 2, floor tom for both beat 1 and 2, just the same way on triplets. Tom 1, 2, floor tom. And then it moves to tom 2, floor tom, kick. Same thing for beat 4. So 2 identical patterns. Tom 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then on tom 2, 3, kick, 2, 3, kick. And as always, ending on our crash and kick on beat 1 of the next measure. Let's give it a shot. Triplet, 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 1. This next exercise isn't very tricky to count. It's more how we travel around the kit isn't as predictable as some of the previous fills. So check this out. We start with a kick. That's 1. And then we have and So 1 E and played on the snare. And then beat 2 all snare. 2 E and Beat 3 we're moving up to tom 1. 3 E tom 2 and Before beat 4 is kind of the funky one. We're going floor tom, tom 1, tom 2, tom 3. Right, left, and you're going to have to cross that left hand over as you move from tom 2 to tom 3, being we're playing everything preceding it right, left, and then ending crash and bass as always. Let's give this a shot. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1. So in this next example, we have all 16th notes counted, 1 E and 2 E and so on. All simultaneous hits on the snare and floor tom, but the difference here is these markings underneath, what we call dynamic markings. This is the first fill in these series of exercises that has any dynamic markings. This first one with the 2 P's means pianissimo, or really, really quiet. In fact, barely tapping those skins. Now this guy, looks like a big lesser than symbol. It's what we call a crescendo. This just means that we're building dynamic intensity or volume as we play through the series before ending on beat 1 of the next measure on these 2 Fs for fortissimo, meaning really loud. You can see the accent mark here. So we go from really quiet to really loud, trying to keep an even progression of dynamic intensity. So not like jumping up randomly on beat 3 here. We want it slowly building with each hit. Take a listen before playing through this one. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Now give it a shot. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. And here we are, the last example, the boss battle for this series of exercises. This one, although maybe not as technically demanding as some of the faster ones that we played earlier, really forces you to work with these odd combinations of appendages and rhythmic subdivision. Check out what we've got here. Eighth notes for beat 1. We're going to play snare and floor tom together for 1, kick for and, then we're moving up to tom 2 for beat 2, and we've got 2 E and, that lasts for and before moving on to beat 3, just like beat 1, we have snare and floor tom for 3, kick on and, moving back up to tom 2, 4 E, and then the floor tom for and before ending it off strong with that accented crash and kick on beat 1 of the next measure. Let's just get straight away into it. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Hopefully you had fun with those exercises. Let us know in the comment section down below if you were able to get through all of those. And see if you can't throw those fills into your own playing, just in a constituent beat in 4, something like 4 on the floor. And then when you get to that crash accent at the end, that's 1 of the very next measure, bring it back to your beat. See if you can't get through a few of those. Throw your own variations. Have fun with it. If you like the video, make sure to hit that like button, share it, and if you believe in what we're doing here, visit our Patreon page to learn how you can support this channel. Take care.